live.
Hello, welcome to Legends of Podcasting. Now, that's just this weekend. The Flash movie was released, and we've all been to the movie theater. We've all seen it. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode of Legends of Podcasting. Now, this is a live recording as well via our YouTube channel. So if you have any comments, anything you want to add, then please let us know in the chat, and we will be looking at that during the show. So joining me here in the Wave Rider, we have
Stu,
Ross,
and Dark Rob, apparently, because my camera focus has just gone to shot. It's just like, yeah.
gonna lie to that face.
And I'm Liam. So obviously this is going to be very spoiler heavy. This episode is going to be. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you do want to avoid the spoilers, then stop right now. This isn't the right time. But come right back.
Put it on your
right
watch
after
list,
you've seen the
and
movie.
then-
Literally,
yeah.
as you walk out the movie theater, load us up on your phone, start watching, listening, and yeah.
Watch it while
Listen
you're
to it on the
driving
driving home,
It's
yeah.
fine. It's fine.
So let's to start things off, we're just gonna quickly go around the room and just get everyone's just quick little initial brief thoughts about the movie, and then we're gonna start digging into things a bit deeper. So let's go around the room. So Stuart, why don't I start with you? What were your thoughts?
Okay, so my thoughts. I think it is a good movie. For some reason, to me, it's not an excellent movie, and I've been pondering about it. Ross, and Rob saw it last Wednesday, so like nearly a week ago, and I've been sitting there pondering and watching our reviews, trying to work out why. And I think the main reason is because the trailer gave away the entire plot of the movie, like the main parts of the plot. So when we watched it, I wasn't really surprised or shocked. I mean, I could have probably told you the story before we walked in. I would have been 90% correct. So I think that kind of where it throws me a little bit, because I enjoyed the film. I've got a lot more positive than negatives. But yeah, it didn't excite me, because I think like all the exciting bits are in the trailer. So it's kind of, yeah, a little bit frustrating that, again, the trailer has maybe ruined this movie. I also think if this came out before Across the Spider-Verse, it maybe would have been a bit more exciting, because it's another multiverse film, which has kind of got similar aspects to Across the Spider-Verse and a few other multiverse films, but maybe didn't do it quite as well as those other movies. So that'll be my high level.
Okay. So Ross, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I would shadow that because, like you said, I feel like I knew everything that was happened in that movie before I saw it. It's only the Easter eggs that were the little bits of new information that you got. But the other thing as well is you kind of feel like it's a Wish version of the Flashpoint Paradox movie, right? In the comic, they take aspects of it, but it's not as fulfilling as that. It's very basic because there's obviously only a couple of characters, but I still really enjoyed it. I had a good time. You know, that's all you can really ask for from a movie, really. So, yeah.
So Rob.
My thoughts.
Jesus, people, get some popcorn. This is going to take a while.
High level.
No, I thought I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a good movie, but it's not great, because I think Ross and Stu, you both covered it off. There's a lot of stuff in the trailer that I wish I hadn't seen going into the film, and I think it suffered a lot from. We'll talk about the elephant in the room with Ezra Miller a bit later on, but from the delays and the reshoots and all the kind of stuff that's obviously kept it bouncing around in the studio for so long, and I think that might have impacted, as you said, the CGI and a few other bits and pieces as well. So I liked the majority of it. I do have problems with it, but I'm not going to sit here and throw salt at people.
And for me, yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked it. I would say similar point to what you've all said, which was we already knew a lot going into this movie, partly from the trailer. Like, the trailer did spoil a bunch of things for us that if that hadn't happened, then the movie would have been a bit more enjoyable. So I think people who haven't seen the trailer will probably enjoy it more. But also, we've read all the comics that was Flashpoint. We've seen the animated Flashpoint Paradox. We've seen the Flash TV show's version of Flashpoint Paradox. So we're really familiar with this story and different takes on this story already. So, you know, we kind of have a lot of that that information understanding already in our heads going into it. So I feel like that kind of
like the fifth
because they
iteration
didn't
of
do
it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were doing their own version of Flashpoint, which of course you want it to be something different and something new, but it was, I don't know, I feel like it could have been better. It doesn't mean I didn't like the movie. I did really enjoy watching the movie, but I do feel like it could have been better. Not longer. It was long enough.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. It clocks in quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel it felt long though at all. It brushed by pretty past me. It was like in a flash.
When it was over, I kind of feel like the last bit of the film, if it was a bit longer, would have made it better. Like the bit with, like, again, spoilers, when Black Flash showed up, or like Dark Flash or Death Flash, whatever you want to call it, it kind of, he showed up and then within 5 minutes he was defeated and it was over. And I was like, oh man, if that was like a longer fight, like maybe they ran through the multiverse, like fighting, or something more than him capturing older Barry and then younger Barry sacrificing himself so he disappeared, and then it was done. I was like, what? Oh man, with the
I thought when I saw that bit, I thought, okay, that was a good way in my mind of defeating the villain, because it's effectively the villain killed himself in that. So I thought that was kind of cool, but all that I was thinking, because you had all the worlds kind of like colliding with each other and whatnot, all I thought in that moment was like, this is like a really budget Crisis on Infinite Earths. You know, it was kind of like, I saw it as like, seeing what we're going on this, now I feel like I really want a proper big Crisis on Infinite Earths thing, and I want the Anti-Monitor to look like he does in the comic. But you know, the big Anti-Monitor, and that was kind of what I was hoping for. But at the same time, I appreciate the fact that it was like doing a very scaled down version of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I mean, what was everyone's thoughts on how they did the Speed Force and like I think they're calling it the Chronosphere or something, about traveling through time? Because I don't know if I think other shows have done that better.
I think we have been spoiled a little bit with the TV series when the TV series has done it well, but it's more like a time corridor in that, and you can see flashes of things around it. Just I mean, you want something different, and it was interesting enough visually to look at it when you've got like the different worlds are portrayed as these big globes that are smashing into each other, and that's where the timelines sort of intersect. But I'm not
like that
sure it works.
I mean the bit of him actually like going into a ball and then running sort of backwards, and then you had the sort of like, I guess, like theatre. I don't know what it was. Like, sort of lines of the past that he could go through.
I thought that was a really interesting and somewhat original way of presenting it. I mean, going into the ball that then takes you back through time, that is the time machine, which was that H.G. Wells?
Yeah.
You know, so that old story and movie, time machine, that's that kind of thing that you've got inside of a sphere. And like, so okay, I kind of see where we've gone on that. And the idea of this, the view are all around you of the layers and layers of the different people and different things going on, was very interesting. And I would say I wasn't entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure if I like it, but I do think it was a cool and different approach. I think to your point, somewhat spoiled by the TV show. I feel like the TV show did a good, I really liked the way that they did it, running through a tunnel, and like you said, flashes of different things passing you by. The idea that he could just stop at a point and it's like pausing and he doesn't step out, and wherever he goes in, he's got to step out in order to get into that time zone, or he can just poke his head through. That was interesting.
For me, I felt like they combined H.G. Wells' time machine bubble and a cosmic treadmill, with him running and then spinning it backwards.
I was going to say, I got that impression with the treadmill.
Yeah, I thought that's how they mixed it together. That's how I saw it.
Because when he's running backwards, it looks he's standing in place, isn't he? When he's running backwards,
Yeah.
so it kind of does feel like they've gone with the cosmic treadmill, but made it like a cosmic idea. So
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
I think that bit works. I don't know about the theatre with the time views and the worlds colliding. It was an interesting way of doing it. I don't know how I would have done it different, to be brutally honest, without, like you say, reverting back to the show or whatever we've seen before. So
I felt like they did it because like it was obviously a sphere in the middle, right? So
yeah.
you feel like it would then surround it. It wouldn't just be in parts. So like the first layer was an hour ago, the second layer was 2 hours ago, third layer was 3 hours ago, kind of thing. So you can see it in stages, kind of thing. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that leads us on to the question of what did you guys think of the CGI in general? I know there's been a lot of...
Gonna get that out of the way quickly.
Yeah, let's get that one out of the way, and then we can move on.
Let's get it out of the way, yeah. So that seems to be the thing that's most commented on when looking at all the reviews. And I've seen a whole bunch of reviews which are purely focused just on the CGI. They're not reviewing the movie. They're just talking trash about the CGI. On that, my thought on that is... a lot of it looked good with the CGI. A lot of the effects with the stuff looked good. The building falling apart and the stuff like that, and the lightning. I thought it looked kind of cool. The CGI on his suit when it lit up, kind of like New 52 style. I thought that was fine. I thought that was cool. Yes, his suit is different than the previous version we got on it, but I don't have a problem with the suit. I thought the suit was fine. But yeah, the way that when he was in the Speed Force and you saw in the theater how everyone looked like CGI at that point. It just looked like a 3D model with the images graphed onto it, which I thought was noticeable, but it didn't take away from the enjoyment of the movie. I saw it and I thought, I wish that kind of looked better. But at the same time, looked at what they were doing. You're like, my God, this is crazy what we're doing here. With so much stuff going on, this was a lot of work to get it to look this good. So it didn't take away from the movie for me. It could have been better. And the director has said that the reason why things look the way they do in the Speed Force is because that's the Speed Force's way of showing things. Yeah, so that's how he's justified the CGI look.
I can forgive the Chronosphere like CGI thing. That's fine. The bits that really bothered me, and I think
the babies.
And I kind of get. I guess you can't drop real life babies
into a microwave.
Put them in the microwave. Yeah. And I get that, but maybe even if it was just when he was in the Speed Force, if they were CGI. But even when you sort of he gets them down on the trolley at the end and pushes it. They're like real babies, and the one that comes out of the microwave is a real baby. Or even you cut so he opens the door and lifts it, so he's not technically in there, but he lifts the real baby out. I think that would really help. The bit that really threw me, and I'm assuming it's because of the reshoots or the changes they had to make, is there's parts where there's the two Barrys next to each other, and you can tell one of them CGI. Well, there was a few moments, I think it was when they were in the back plane or something, where it's about can't remember which Barry it is. It's the one that it'll be the one in the new suit. I can't remember if it's the younger one or the old one, depending what point.
Depends on what part in the movie.
Yeah. Is the face was all CGI and stuff, and I don't know if it was because they had to reshoot stuff, and maybe they couldn't get Ezra Miller there, so he did audio and they could flick it up. But yeah, that's just weird bits.
I don't think it was that the face was CGI. I think it was that the face was mapped on.
Yes.
I think it was that they shot him and they just mapped his face onto it.
Yeah.
But I agree. There were a few points where that was noticeable.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that it wasn't really a deal breaker because there's so much else going on in the movie at the time. But when it's noticeable, like the babies, when you're up close and he's putting it in a microwave, or like you say, when you've got a focus shot of the two Barrys talking and you can see the mouth, when it's noticeable, it really is noticeable. So it's
funny. I didn't notice that at all.
Did you not?
I must have been looking at a different part.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at his face. I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah.
I did notice the babies, but the rest of it I was absolutely fine with.
Quick note on Liam from the suit point of view. I read this today.
Surely
which is
Bruce made it, right?
which is the prequel. Yeah. So there is a bad guy that he has to fight, and his suit gets nearly destroyed.
Ah,
The one
okay.
with the Justice League, and him and Bruce and Alfred are working on like new technology, and they make him a suit,
Cool.
which is where it comes from.
I guess that does look at
Okay.
the because I quite like the finally having the flash ring with the suit in it.
They make it. They're looking at like they're actually originally looking for ways that Bruce Wayne can like have a suit miniaturized, so he doesn't have to carry it around like underneath him and stuff. So he can carry it in small ways, and then obviously it comes out and he gets changed, not as fast as the Flash, but So but then they use it to help Barry out and give.
They
Barry
don't talk about Ryan Choi that was in Justice League.
No,
That's where they get the suit idea from.
No. Why would you have the atom involved in shrinking stuff? That's just stupid. What are you talking about? I think all the action scenes, there wasn't bad CGI. It's just the talking scenes and some other bits, weirdly. And again, it's not every scene, so I'm guessing it must have been to do with reshoots or something. But just some of it didn't work for me, and it didn't. It annoyed me, but I think I want to go and watch it again. And now I know it's there. Hopefully, it won't bother me as much.
So looking over at the comments for a moment, just to take a look there, we've got Diner Guy says he loved it. He only had a few nitpicks, and the CGI wasn't that distracting for him.
I can see it.
Although says would have been cooler if Supergirl was a surprise. Have to agree on that.
Yeah.
So would Michael Keaton.
Because
Michael
when you
Keaton,
first saw
if you didn't
her,
know he was in that,
Yeah.
there'd been so much
If you didn't know Michael Keaton was in that, I mean, again, it's one of those things where they I'm guessing they thought because of the Ezra Miller situation, right? We need to sell this in a different way. Let's throw loads of Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton to these trailers. But if you were watching that film, and I always bring it back to whenever we talk about this stuff, at the end of Mandalorian season 2. Spoilers if you haven't watched it, but I'm going to spoil it for you now. When Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, there was no leak, there was no rumor, there was nothing that would have if you go and watch our reaction to that season finale, we all freaked the fuck out at that moment because we didn't know it was going to happen.
Everybody did.
And you were so many risks. If we went into that Flash movie not knowing Michael Keaton was in it, and they went to Wayne Manor, and suddenly
you see this guy with white hair fighting, you think, what the fuck?
Michael Keaton, who the hell's that? You're like, what? That's wait, what? And then it's Michael fucking Keaton, and then he shows up in the Batsuit, and they go into and the music comes on. The whole crowd would have like freaked out, but because everyone knew it was there, everyone was just like, oh yeah, here we go, here's the Michael Keaton bits, right? Yeah, cool, nice. There was no excitement, and there should have been loads of excitement for Michael Keaton coming back as Batman.
I would say my wife didn't know that that Michael Keaton was going to be in it, so like when that part of the movie happened, at a point she was like, oh, hold on, I didn't realize that was Michael Keaton. It was like, and I saw that reaction from her, and I was like, man, I wish that could have been my reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that would have been amazing.
Someone
I
needs
somehow
to
managed to
little
avoid the
memory wipe thing from Men in Black. So you can go, before every cinema, you go, maybe you can watch a film, you watch the trailers, then you wipe your memory, go in, and then you get the surprise, right?
I managed to avoid the spoilers of the, at the end, when we saw George Reeve, Superman, and then Christopher Reeve and Supergirl, and Nicolas Cage. I managed to avoid the spoilers of that, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And the very end, I had no idea that George Clooney was going to be there at the end.
No.
So
I was listening to.
I must have been the loudest person in the cinema when that happened. I just burst out laughing like, wow.
I shouted, no way.
Well, I was listening to a podcast that someone did of they were invited to an early access screening for WB, and apparently all the early access screenings cut off as the foot comes out the door, so you can't spoil who that's going to be.
Oh,
yeah,
smart.
I was thinking about this when I was driving home afterwards, right? He had a white beard, with white hair. That means he's Batman with a fucking white beard under the cap.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting surprise. I was like, because I was thinking like, if they were going to change it, I was like, oh, would you bring Christian Bale into it at the end? I mean, I would have loved if he didn't pass away. Sadly, if Kevin Conroy stepped out of the Mercedes at the end, that would have been fripping epic. But obviously, sadly, he passed away, so they couldn't do that. But yeah, it was
Adam West.
Adam West, yeah.
Adam West would have been something so. He could be Alfred. He could have been Alfred. But and all the cameos at the end. So we obviously, I loved the Nicolas Cage bit was amazing. I would love to see. I can't wait for Kevin Smith to put out a reaction of the film and him talk about that, because obviously there's an interview of him saying,
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, they wanted this. He wanted, like, Superman can't fly,
Mm.
he can't have a cape, and he needs to fight a giant spider or something at the end. And that was what he was told to write.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see his reaction be like, holy shit, they put that up? What the hell? That
Yeah,
would be cool. I would have loved to.
that would be really cool.
The only thing there was, I mean, there was obviously loads of cameos missing, but the really big one that I don't understand why he wasn't in it was John Wesley Shipp. Like why they had I think they had the Flash from like
Or
season
Grant
2.
Gustin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like they had that Flash, like Jay Garrick Flash, which people are saying
It's not
was the guy
Teddy.
with
It's,
Zoom.
it's not Teddy's ears. It's he's come out and said
Yeah.
it's not me. So it's
Yeah,
yeah.
but those people are saying that. But why could that not be John Wesley Shipp or have the 90s
It was
Flash?
that was a missed opportunity. You also that could have been Grant Gustin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have just done that, which someone's made a comment. Diner Guy says a similar thing as well. That Grant Gustin could have appeared in the Amplifiers, although he's saying the moment from when they met in Crisis, which they could have done that.
Yeah, it could have
which
the same thing.
would have been nice to have tied that in, although it's different suit. But yeah, seeing on the cosmic treadmill is what I'm calling it now. But yeah, the bit when we saw Jay Garrick, yeah, if they'd thrown Grant Gustin in there at that moment, that would have been fantastic. Just it's only a few seconds. That would have been great.
Exactly.
But seeing the different movies, but how we got a bunch of other versions of Superman, and we got a few other versions of Batman appeared there. I felt like, well, if we've gone this far, couldn't we have got flashes of more of the DC movies kind of like tied in there? Why didn't we get Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern? And why didn't we get just
Christian Bale's
any
Batman.
number of these other things? Shaq Steele would have got a laugh if you got that thrown in there. Same as the Nicolas Cage was really done for a laugh. You could have thrown Shaq Steele in there, and I'm like, what? Why is he there?
Yeah.
They should have thrown in the Green Lantern that wasn't in Zack Snyder's cut, because they filmed him, right? But then they didn't put it in.
Yeah.
They should have put that in there, right? So then it kind of ties everything up.
But you know what? There's me, just moaning like I wanted more. It's like it's still cool that they put in what they put in.
You just said it was too long.
It was, yeah. I feel like the movie. It wasn't too long. It was long enough. I didn't want it to be longer.
Well, speaking of the cameos, Maznis Vamps in chat makes a point. It says they were nice to see them, but they didn't really add anything to the overall story. So, like, could they have worked them in a different way? Could we have had something a bit more like Spider-Verse, where they were actively part of the story without taking too much from it? Or was all you? I
think it would have been a different movie.
Yeah.
I think it's at that point it's a Justice League movie. And it's what I've always felt really should be the way with a lot of the DC movies is that the movies focus on one key character. This one we got two because we got Batman and Flash, but should be really focused on that one hero, and the other heroes exist in this same world. So it makes sense for them to be a little cameo or a little thing you see.
I really like
that
at the start. I really like that with Superman. Wasn't available. He was dealing with a volcano.
Yeah.
And you did see Diana turn up. I think that's great because, like, when you watch the Avengers movies, you're like, well, where's everybody else? Why is Ant-Man doing this on his own, kind of thing? And it makes sense where, I mean, it's difficult because Barry went back in time, so there wouldn't be anybody anyway. But at least show them in the world doing other things. And Alfred, you're like, Barry's the seventh one he calls because everyone else is bad. I did like that touch. It felt like a world. Do you know what I mean? It didn't feel just like a solo movie.
That one, I say without making the film longer, because that's one of our things we mentioned so far already was like, could it be longer, could it be shorter? I would like to have seen that kind of world building in the new timeline that Barry creates when he goes back and fixes his mum's murder. Like although they haven't got any heroes,
they haven't cast everybody.
I know
that's the problem.
They haven't, although he goes through them all really quickly, going, obviously they call up Aquaman's dad, and I love that scene as well. Where he's like, is your wife a beautiful like sea goddess?
Goddess of the sea.
And this is,
that was great. That was really
whatever,
good.
mate. It just hangs up.
He just hangs up. Yeah.
You taking the piss?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, no, I love that.
So the way that I took it at the end, because the fact that we got the George Clooney is that he didn't
Batman in the new DC universe.
Oh, that's
we get fat nipples again.
Yeah, that's what I say. We're gonna have Chris O'Connell back as Nightwing. He'll meet Damien. It's all sorted out.
And the back credit card. Don't leave the cave without it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I do think, as we've all talked on previous podcast episodes, I think a few times, like this movie as Flashpoint is the perfect way to end this current line of the movies, the Zack Snyderverse, because it has to end with he can't rebuild the universe the way that it was, because just by going back to begin with, it's now changed. You're never going to get back to that timeline. So we've seen that in the comics, and for some reason Barry never learns that lesson. So he's constantly going back in time at different points and screwing things up. So yeah, this was the perfect way of ending it. I thought it was a nice, fun. It was a nice, fun way of ending this line of movies, whilst also explaining the multiverse concept within one of the movies for the first time, and tying some of the other movies together. Well, the longest running movies tied together, because Superman and Batman had the longest running ones. So I think that's a nice way of setting it up for, you know, the new DC movies coming out, because you can recast everyone in this, and it all makes sense. If you want to kind of view it in a continuity wise, even though you're restarting everything, it makes sense. And I'm just going to assume that in the Aquaman movie, it's going to have all taken place before the Flash.
I would assume so, or at some point, like I kind of hope that at the end, whatever happens, it's sort of something happens, because I was kind of like a wave. Well, I guess the graphics would be different because of what they've done, but it would just wipe out that universe at the end or something. It would just not exist anymore. But
well,
I guess
that line of spaghetti still exists. All that happened was that Flash left it. So in that line of spaghetti, there's no Barry Allen anymore.
The whole world's dead because Zod
everyone else is still there. That world exists without him.
No, they because they failed to stop Zod. That world has been terraformed and become New Krypton.
I think Liam means
he's talking about the first one.
Oh, the first one.
The first one.
When we leave with Ben Affleck.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Zack Snyderverse.
It's confusing.
Hang on. I'm going to go get some spaghetti
that.
and figure this out for myself. 1 second.
Yeah, I do love the way Keaton explained that. Actually, it was one of the most genius ways to explain the multiverse. He's like, here's 2 loads of spaghetti. You bend it this way, and something to just break. And then you just drop a whole bunch of spaghetti in a bowl. It's like, yes, that makes total sense to me. Also, I would kind of counter something you said, Liam, about having 2 leads in that film. I feel it was very much a Barry Allen story. Like Batman was in it.
I agree.
It was 100% like this was Barry. We got Barry's origin, which for people that don't know it,
I thought that was a really fun way of doing the origin as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we had like him having to make the ultimate sacrifice of being like, I need to basically reset this timeline to let my mum die.
I was so emotional in that supermarket.
And I actually
he has 2 ultimate sacrifices in that. One, he has to realize that his mum has to die, but 2, he also lets himself die, because we've got 2 Barrys in this. He sacrifices himself and he allows his mum to die. So he's, grows a lot. He was able to be a great hero in this story. It was a great hero's journey. And yeah, I really liked it. It was a fun way of doing his origins in a way that I haven't seen done before.
Yeah.
Which was that he started off fully hero, but then it's a younger version of himself.
And he has to train himself.
We see that one's origins. You're like, that's cool.
I think a lot of reviewers have said it, but I think it's very clever the way they made the younger Barry even more annoying than the current Barry we have. So and it makes like the older Barry more of a mentor, because like
he immediately has to.
I've said it a few times that like Ezra Miller's version of Barry Allen is not the Barry Allen I like. It's a version, and they went with it.
But then I liked seeing him grow up, as you said, trying to teach the younger version.
And just realizing how annoying he is. He's like, God, you're so annoying. But I also then like that this like kid who has never felt lost, who never felt anything, he's a bit of a spoiled brat, gets the powers, and then Barry's trying to help him, and he's just like, oh, I'm gonna run off, and like that whole scene of him running off, all his clothes burning off, and it, like that's the first thing you would do, right? If you got powers, you'd like want to try them out. So you went off, tried them out. Really funny, and he came in naked, and then like goes, "How do you do that phasing thing? I would try that."
Just goes straight through the floor.
He came in again, like he goes, "Okay." Yeah, all that kind of stuff was really fun, and I really love the nods to the movies they did about like what's his name, Eric
Stoltz
as Marty in Back to the Future, and then Michael J. Fox was in Footloose, and then Kevin Bacon was in Top Gun, and all that those slight changes. Which we
are truly in the darkest timeline.
I thought that was very cool. I mean, I think most if not all the comedy hit for me. It was very funny, and like most of the bits I laughed out loud at. the bit where like Barry tries like he's lost his powers, he tries running around in circles, and he's like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
I thought that was great. A few bits with Keaton, like when he, I think me and Ross said it to each other in the cinema when they get onto the elevator and he's just like, how much do you weigh?
Yeah.
About 108.
Pulls the tape measure out.
It was the bit before when they're on the ice. And
Yeah.
then
Yes.
the young Barry runs up, and then the other Keaton goes to use the grapple gun, and he like tries to climb on like he's going to hold him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm not going to carry you." He's like, "Oh, okay." And I turned to Stu and I said, "What do you weigh? About 108?"
Yeah.
And then later on, he did.
He
when he did the other
just
bit.
did the weight
It
thing,
was
which
so
I thought was
good.
hilarious. And it was. I think 99% of the comedy really, and even the bit with the babies at the beginning when he like goes in slow motion, he's on like low carbs and he starts reaching. He thinks he's going for the baby, he just goes for the vending machine and starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. I really laughed
On
out loud
on that note, I thought it was interesting. One of our commenters asked it in the comments as well about actually including the calorie counter and having him run out of power occasionally, which is quite neat because you don't see that a lot in any of the incarnations we've seen recently. Like actually,
no, they did it in the 90s. They did it in the 90s fashion. I was rewatching that recently, and that's a big thing of him. Like if he overdoes it and doesn't have enough like energy, he like starts blacking out and stuff. They sort of did it in the Grant Gustin thing for like the first couple of seasons, and then
He did it in Young Justice with Wally.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
always got a thing in his.
Yeah, but actually, like he actually said like he's got a watch on him that he can actually track.
Yeah.
He needs carbs, and he's like, shit, I haven't got much power left. As in, he's not unlimited speed force power he's got. He needs to recharge, which I think makes him a little bit more vulnerable.
His body's still human, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that a lot. I really loved the Ben Affleck scene at the beginning. He's still one of my favorite Batmans, and I'm going to miss him not being Batman anymore because I think he did I really wish he got his own movie so much.
But yeah, his Batman at the beginning was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was really
I wasn't
cool
too keen on the
Batman
suit.
stuff
I
at the
wasn't too
beginning of the
keen on
movie.
Extra bits of the suit that were a bit weird, but I like the blue cow and I loved his bike and him. He actually did a Batman voice rather than a modulator as well, and he had a good Batman voice. I was like, yes, great. But I just really wish he got a chance to have his own movie, and it wasn't just BVS, Justice League, and now this. I reckon it would have been a great movie.
And Suicide Squad, he was in the first.
Oh yeah, Suicide Squad was in it, wasn't it? But yeah, it's just really But I say I'm going to miss Ben Affleck being Batman because I think
Alfred as well.
Jeremy Irons, Alfred.
So good as
I love Jeremy
Right,
Irons.
so we have a comment here from Lara E saying, "I wonder if this movie was supposed to have been 2 parts because the director said it was supposed to be 4 hours." So
yeah, I reckon you could have gotten a lot more of the backstory of the worlds in. You might even have been able to include Jeffrey D. Morgan as Thomas Wayne and have a bit of back and forth there as well.
I'm curious about that, right? Because Flashpoint, right? If this film, because it wasn't called Flashpoint, and it was called The Flash, right? If it was never touted to everyone as Flashpoint Paradox, would you have gone in there going, "Oh, it's time travel. It has to be Flashpoint Paradox"? Because they would have had to explain Reverse Flash, give him a backstory. They'd have to take. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa as Aquaman and Wonder Woman fighting each other and like all that kind of stuff. That would have been epic. And obviously, as you say,
seeing Amber Heard getting beheaded.
yeah. And having a beefed up Cyborg and like a really skinny Henry Cavill. It would have been an amazing movie. But it would have, for people that didn't know the comic book, it would have been they would have to explain it really slowly to people. I think they'd have to make the movie lots of like explaining.
Well, they don't explain it that much in the animated one.
I think it's just because they assume people are going to have sort of read the comic book, right? So I think they explain the world quite well. But I mean, I just feel like
I think they did.
And it's shorter than The Flash. It's quite a short movie. And it works. But it's already been done, isn't it? So it's like.
Yeah, why would you want to do it again?
Yeah, that story's already been told.
Going back though to the skinny Superman, right? I really did like when they put Kara in the sun.
Yes.
And and it starts absorbing it, and the nutrients comes back to it. I felt that was really.
My
good.
kid next to me when that was happening, my 9-year-old was like, "What is happening?" It was brilliant.
The one thing that I didn't like about that was when they went to get her. And
the
suit's just
the
on the
suit
floor.
was already on the floor. Yeah.
Like Stu, when Stu said it's like it'd be better if it was in a lab and they were trying to test the materials because it's a material they'd never come across.
Yeah.
Or they have it at least in a case or some sort of container because they're like, what is this? It's like, I know you might need this suit later when you escape, so we're just going to leave it on the floor. It was a bit convenient. Do you know what I mean? It was a bit poorly written that.
Yeah, and also coming from the like, if you know Flashpoint Paradox, Superman didn't know when they met Superman, he didn't know any English. He was just speaking Kryptonian. So had she been on Earth for a while looking for Cal,
She should
and
have
then
spoken
got
Russian.
captured?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been like Kryptonian.
Well, it's
or
different,
Russian.
isn't it? It's different because when Clark lands on Earth, he's an infant.
Yeah.
Where Kara is older, and she would have learned different languages on Krypton before she went off in the ship.
She learn Earth talk, I guess maybe.
Possibly it depends how they program the pod in this universe on the way to Earth.
Yeah, she could have been learning it on the way. Like when Clark is in the Superman Christopher Reeve movie, right? It's explaining everything while he's an infant. Where he could have been doing that to her because he knows, her father knows he's shipping her off to Earth. You're going to need to learn the language, all the languages.
One of the things I would have liked to have seen, just because rather than we got Sasha Calle as Supergirl, maybe have when they find her, she's got a grey suit with the hammer and sickle in the logo, and sort of putting a little bit of a red sun tease because our pods obviously landed in Russia rather than Kansas, and they could have been trying to make her into a Supergirl, a Superwoman for the state, and it never worked. That's why they put her away in this thing. So she's obviously, and that's why she's even more angry when she comes out and she doesn't want to fight with them. It would have been a little cool thing to see. It would have been.
You know what would have been a really cool cameo as well? They didn't do, which when it was happening, I was like, no, they didn't, did they? Is when she finds Zod and she's like, "Where's Kal-El? Where's Kal-El?"
Oh god, yeah.
He goes, we found the pod. I would have loved to have him walk out in like full black Kryptonian armor and be like an evil Kal-El.
You could have done that as well.
Found him as
and he's the one that kills her.
Yeah,
I mean, like that would have been something. Rather, instead it was like, when we tried to dissect and found out it wasn't actually in there, he died. Like the infant died. I was like, oh man, if you had just Henry Cavill show up. Like that would have they kept that completely secret.
They could have had Zod had died trying to conquest the years before, and it's Zod that walks out. Superman Henry Cavill that walks out as Zod on the platform, and then I need to find you. You're my cousin, and you've got my DNA we need. Yeah,
well, they could have gone. They could have gone for like the what was it, that Gods and Monsters animated movie where Zod implants his DNA into that thing. You know, the one where it's like Batman's a half vampire and Superman's actually half Zod. They could have even done that as a little slip from the universe. That actually he's like, rather than being Jor-El's son, he's Zod's. Would have been quite interesting as well. But I guess again you'd have to maybe try and explain that, and there wasn't enough time. I'm curious though, if there's a 4-hour cut of the film, I would 100% want to watch that and see what they had to cut.
It's just cameos at the end. It's all the multiverse.
2 hours. 2 hours, all the Earths.
Well, that brings the question is there a 4-hour cut, or is it just a case of the original plan was for it to be like 4 hours or to be a part 1 and part 2, but this movie, they've been making it for what, 10 years? It seems like it. Like they've been making this movie for so many years. You've had all the rewrites and different directors and shit. So I don't think it would have ever reached a point where they had shot all like 4 hours worth of stuff. I think the deleted scenes, the stuff that they cut out, is probably stuff that had to get cut out because it didn't work with the new reworked script.
Yeah.
So there may be bits and pieces of other storylines that may have happened in another script, but they're probably not going to tie in to the one that we saw. They're just going to be weird and out of context.
Yeah, I saw when I was watching some reviews that the ending of the film where George Clooney comes out wasn't the original ending. That was I think it might have been James Gunn or someone changed it, because there's set photos of Supergirl and Michael Keaton at the courthouse at the end. So I don't know how they're going to maybe change it, or maybe everyone's lived rather than died. I don't know. But that wasn't the original ending. But can we just talk about real quick, because we haven't spoken about it yet, and it's like the best bit of the movie. How fucking awesome was Michael Keaton attacking all those people in the Russian bunker? Like, how badass! Like, obviously in the original movies,
I want to spoil it for you, Stu, but that was CGI. That was not my.
No. Obviously, the original movies, there was obviously no CG, and some of the fighting, like the bit, I love Batman Returns. Don't talk to me, Ross, before you say anything. When he has to like duck and turn around to then fight and stuff, it's not great. But then you had this moment of him just taking out, and then he just threw loads of batarangs, and even threw a batarang off a wall onto that guy, and then his bulletproof cape. And all that, and then you get the funny moment where there's a guy walking past with a coffee, and Batman just tries to stamp. The guy's like, no, let's look at that work. Like, he was just so cool, and I really appreciated him coming back and just like, yeah, I know it was a nostalgia fest for people, and also I love his Batplane as well. You know, I love the original. The way the front cockpit was like stayed still, but the back bit like span.
span
the
around.
rotating
so
bits.
cool when
That
it was
was
flying.
cool.
I was like, that's a genius.
Well, I think what makes
point.
that funnier than anything else is it's only the pilot seat that stays gyroscopically stable.
Yes.
The passengers are going round and round in the background. It's just.
Well, it's normally because he's got Harley and Joker in the back. He's like, fuck
Yeah.
these two.
And even the bit where he tries to take down the massive Kryptonian at the end, where he's like got a grapple attached to him, he's jumping over and putting bombs all over him. Just like moments like that was so cool to watch.
That was very cool.
It's very well done.
The one biggest thing that they did is they didn't use the Batmobile.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I am disappointed.
What a
It's
waste.
one of my gripes, man. It's one of my gripes.
At least we got to see it.
Yeah, but
That's
that
the one thing I'm
cool.
hoping is if there's one thing that stays from this Zack Snyder's universe, because this is now Zack Snyder's universe, into the new one, is that's the new Batmobile. That's the one thing that stays.
Oh, that would be so good. Just make it the definitive Batmobile when we move on.
Yeah.
Something I did also really like, just thinking of it, is at the end fight scene when we got the bat wings is coming in. When it cut over to that bit, you suddenly got the dun. Awesome.
But then again,
so cool
just
having that bit.
Going back
the
to
music play at the Batman moments.
Going back to what we were saying at the start, though, about the marketing having all of the Keaton stuff in the trailers. There was the scene where they fly into Russia, and he's like, "Where you're strapped to your parachutes? Where's yours?" And he just drops off and flies down, and then the plane in the background, the plane comes over the moon, and you see the bat symbol. I'd love to have seen that without. That was in the trailer, like all over the trailer, and it was like, it's just another one of those things that I'd have really like to have seen without.
Well, the bit what we saw in, I think it's the second trailer drop, when the big Kryptonian guy jumps on the Batplane and knocks him out, and then he has to jump out and he sort of glides down. That was such an awesome scene, but why put that in the trailer? Why was that not just in the movie to be like, oh, holy shit, he's gonna die? No, wait, no, he's not, because he jumped out, he glided down, which is awesome. But like you saw it in the trailer, it was like, oh, okay, it's just spoil it. Man. It was really frustrating how much.
There's one thing I want to ask you, Liam, is when the multiverse thing, and then talking about themes when you said the Batman theme, is when Christopher Reeve come down with Helen Slater. Was the John Williams music playing? Did you notice it?
I did not notice it.
No, I didn't either. But in the credits, it
And
said
that's
the
a
John
good
Williams
point.
theme's playing. It said it was in that movie, but I didn't hear it. It was either really quiet or I was too busy in awe of seeing Christopher Reeve. I didn't hear the music, but I'm sure I would have heard the music.
I feel like hearing that. Dun, 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 dun,
Maybe when I
we-
saw him, I just
we
assumed
all would have
the
noticed
music,
it. Gone like,
and it just
oh,
blended
yeah.
well. And I didn't really notice it, but I do want to see it again just to see, because apparently it's definitely the credits. So.
Yeah,
it must have been. I just didn't.
Well, they're speaking of Superman. There's a comment here from SideDude666 saying, "How do we feel about the use of George Reeves and Christopher Reeves in CGI form now that they've obviously passed on? Is that disrespectful to their legacies, or is it just a nice little touch to remember the fact that those guys played those characters? How do you guys feel about that?
I would say it's not disrespectful to their legacies. I'd say it's the opposite. It's very respectful of their legacies, because it's identifying that they have played their iconic versions of Superman. So having their likeness used in it, I'm sure they would have had to have got the permission from the estates, the families, to be able to use their likeness in this new form. I thought it was. I'm quite happy with it. I don't think it was distasteful. What do you guys think?
They should have used live bits from just taking a bit from the movie and tweaking it a little bit. Take a scene from Christopher Reeve Superman, one of the Superman movies, and just having that instead of a CGI version of him, looking through the multiverse.
You know what? I thought about that at the time when it was happening. It was like, what would I have been happier with? Just seeing scenes from the movie playing out there, or something new? And I was like, you know what? No, I feel like it would have just felt cheap and like a cheat if they had just shown scenes from one of the movies. I like the fact that they did something new with it, and I love the fact that we got Christopher Reeves with Helen Slater. So we got Superman and Supergirl together. Yeah, because that had. My understanding is that had originally been the plan with the movies, was that there was going to be something with the two of them in it, but then it didn't end up happening.
I like it for two reasons. Because one, it was him landing and looking at what the Flash was doing. He could see the multiverse.
Yeah.
So it's him understanding that there's this bigger world, which we'd never have seen if it was just a clip. And two, like you said, if they'd have just taken a clip, it would have been such a cheap and easy way of putting him in. But then somebody had to spend the time and make a CGI version of him, make him look good. So it means that they spent the time and they respected it rather than just doing it quickly and easy. So that's why I think I like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So there has been quite a bit of conversation going on around sort of filmy people who are much more bet up on film knowledge than I about how it's really disrespectful to abuse dead actors like this is. It's like, well, if you're going to honour them in the only way that feels right, it's.
Yeah, I felt like it was really honouring them. The different versions of Superman and Batman that we've had through the years. So. Yeah, I saw it as a positive thing, and I thought it was real fun to have got the Nicolas Cage bit in there. I would say Nicolas Cage absolutely just looks CGI like the entire time, but it was still really cool to have seen that. So what else we got here in the comments? Was there an explanation?
I would like to know whose idea that was to put it in the film. I'd love to know who was in the writers' room and going.
A film that doesn't exist. And like make a joke, yeah.
I wonder if
I got a feeling James Gunn might have been involved with that. I feel like he might have been. You know what we need? We need Superman lives in this.
Has anyone actually asked Nick Cage if he was involved in that at all?
I can't remember what review I was watching, but apparently someone said it was actually Nick Cage. Like, I don't know if he was in the suit, but he was like
motion capture.
Yeah, motion capture or something. Yeah, he was doing apparently.
Well, that would be super cool if that really was Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Like as the actor behind it, that's awesome. So looking over here at the comments, someone said here, crap, where is it now? Was there an explanation for how Zod's spear was able to kill Supergirl?
Kryptonian metal.
Yeah. There you go. That's your answer.
Yeah. That's my guess anyway.
I did like the way it was a complete callback. I see something we remember actually. A complete callback to Man of Steel. I actually really loved the way Barry was actually at the end of Man of Steel in his suit. He's like
he saved one kid.
Yeah, saved one kid who was in his. It was like a week after he got his powers in this. He's like version 1 suit, which didn't really work, and he tried to help and he couldn't. I really like that, and I also really like the sort of mirroring of Man of Steel where he lands with that big military people. I've seen the Man of Steel Superman standing there, and he goes up to the military guys like, "You failed to bring me the person," just kills them, and then the big war starts. I really love that sort of contrast. What I would have loved to seen is to have Christopher, what's his name, the guy, the general in it who plays Jim Gordon.
Oh, Chris Maloney.
Maloney. Have him show up, and it would have been cool. He's like
he'd have been awesome as Jim Gordon as a multiverse version, right?
Hollywood Animated Show just comes in there.
The other thing is, what do you feel about where obviously Zod took on Kal-El in Man of Steel, and Kal-El won? Kara took on Zod and lost.
I'm going to go with. Probably you've got the same idea as I have, Stu, about the fact that Kal-El was growing up in Kansas in the sun for 20, 30 years before Zod arrives. So he's kind of like stored all this solar energy as a battery, and he's got all this power, raw power. And then was when Zod shakes his armor off in Man of Steel, and it's been ages since I've seen that. He kind of has the upper hand because he's got that military training as well, which is why Superman breaks his neck at the end, because it's the only way he can stop him. Whereas Kara's only been out the pod for the better part of a couple of hours, just getting herself reoriented with Earth, and then I don't know if she's got any military training from that universe.
Well, in Man of Steel, they take him onto the ship and drain him of his power.
Well, boo you for stealing my theory.
I don't know. I just think drains it's just
he gets weak, right? And then they can't move, and then he has to go and absorb himself in the sun again.
I kind of feel they kind of explain it a little bit because whenever she did something in that fight, she exerted herself. She was then like breathless or went on her knees and stuff and had to recover for a second, so she wasn't at full power. But I would kind of liked if it was like the Fiora is the general person. If it was, because I know one of the times that she dies, because she obviously dies multiple times, Fiora and Zod like take her down together. I would kind of liked if it had to be Zod and someone else to take her down rather than just Zod doing it. I
also have a feeling that like with Kara, because she was so new to it, she's only been a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Every time she fought, she used all of her power up.
Yes.
Where Clark is always, he never uses his full power. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why he doesn't get as exhausted as much. I'll say
Well, I think
he has
Sorry, go on.
learned to use it for 30 years as well. So
Yeah.
there is that difference.
Yeah, because we don't know how many years she's been stuck
Mm.
inside of that ball, kept out of the sunlight, to keep her completely drained of power and all emaciated. So she's gonna be like a completely drained battery, completely empty battery, and yeah, gets out into the sunlight, gets a little bit of charge, using it up. Like she's, I mean, that also explains how she was able to be killed by the spear. Is also because yeah, she never reached full strength, but also Kryptonian metal. Yeah.
And as Diego Constantino says in chats, CGI mustache, most powerful.
Blocks all Kryptonian
So
spears.
apparently, someone's mentioned here in the comment, Laura E. Did you guys hear that Andy cut Linda Carter's Wonder Woman? And how do you feel? Now, I'm guessing it doesn't mean that he edited her Wonder Woman like show, and we're saying that he cut her out of the movie. I assume that would be at the end bit where we've got all the other stuff. I'll say what my thoughts are first of all. That, as I said earlier, I feel like it would have been great if we got loads more stuff. There's loads of DC properties. It would have been great to have got, you know, a little bit of all of them in there in that bit. So I think that would have been great.
Maybe she didn't want it.
Specifically cutting that Wonder Woman out of it. I mean, it's a great, like, iconic version of Wonder Woman. Season 1 of that show is great as well. So that's a solid.
They should have put the
season
pilot
1.
TV show in with Mockingbird from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh
Can't remember her
god,
name.
no, that was really
Do you remember
bad.
that?
Yes, I do.
Really bad.
Oh,
that
that one. Yes, they could have thrown that in.
Yeah.
That
Oh.
pilot, if they did that, because that's
Her
what
and
I'm thinking
Nicolas
on this.
Cage
Is like
in the sewers.
Linda
fighting a
Carter's
monster
one would have
next to-
only been one version of Wonder Woman, so I would have wanted to have seen more than one version.
Yeah.
So yes, you could have got Linda Carter and that pilot, that terrible pilot.
Well, you might as well put the Birds of Prey TV show in if you're going to do that. You remember that one?
Yeah.
I'm surprised like.
But then we hit the point. It's like Crisis on Infinite Earths, when that TV event happened. They did a fantastic job at covering all of the different shows in that. But it took a lot of time. If you add that all up, because it happened at like at different points that we saw these things as the different Earths. You know, you got a montage at one point, you know, of a whole bunch of them, but then you got at different points as another Earth went, you saw a bit more of that, more disappear.
Do you reckon that they didn't put that Wonder Woman in because technically Linda Carter is in the Snyderverse already?
Oh, God, don't
She
remind
was
me of
at the
84.
end of
Don't
Wonder
remind,
Woman 84.
don't
right?
remind me of 84.
She was at the end of 84, but that's going to be a different Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
She wasn't Diana at the end of 1984. She wasn't
I know.
Diana.
But they didn't want to confuse general audiences.
I'm kind of sure they didn't put any Arrowverse in, or like Titans or Doom Patrol or anything like that, or even any of the animated stuff. Kind of sneak it in there, here and there, everywhere.
Robot Chicken would have been awesome.
Yeah, Robot Chicken, Harley Quinn, the animated show, like even the
Teen
Batman,
Titans Go
Joker.
thrown in.
Oh, no, sod off.
Like the
Possibilities,
Batman or
possibilities
Joker.
are endless, right? They can only pick a handful.
That's
That's
the
what they
thing.
picked.
They could have only done so much in it. There was only so much time. And at a point, if you're trying to show too much, it's too much of a distraction. It's taking you out of the story too much. Because now you're just going through a montage of other properties.
80 years of everything that's ever happened.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work. Yeah.
I'm sure someone, when the movie's released
edit it
to
loads
have
of
digital
them,
copies, some fan will make an edit that just throws movie will end up being an extra 30 minutes in order for you to see like all the other Earths.
Damn straight. I mean, Titans did a pretty good job with Beast Boy recently, right? In the last season's Titans, there was a quite cool little when he was in the green and he went on purple. And had loads of images.
That'd have been cool if Flash was like running
All right. I still haven't watched
and then he's
the
over the
last
side
latest
going, "What
season
the
of Titans, so
Well, that sounds like you. Problem.
Sounds like a you problem, Liam.
Just spoilers, Liam. Spoiling everything.
So, what else we got here? So, Diogo Constantino says Sasha Calle should stay as Supergirl in the DCU.
If she looks more
Quick thoughts on
traditional,
that?
I agree.
What do you mean? More
She has
traditional?
blonde hair.
Long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Maybe fix the suit a bit because I still think the single color design doesn't work.
Yeah. Should have at least had the red boots.
Mm.
At least
Red
red
boots.
boots on it.
And more of a belt.
Yeah, like I feel like like having the having pants on the suit was fine. I feel like the Supergirl TV show showed that the suit can be cool with the pants on it. It doesn't need the skirt.
I always prefer
Although
the
that
skirt,
is
though.
the view. The skirt is what you expect when
You
you're
know what you need?
thinking of
You
the
know what you
comics.
need? You just need an S on the back of the damn cape.
Hmm.
Put an S.
Just get.
The back of the.
Well, I
frickin'
love
cape,
that the
man.
Christopher Reeve
Yeah.
one had the
And
S on
Henry
it.
Yeah.
and Helen Slater had it. Yeah.
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 That's what you need.
So it
That
can be
was-
done.
Skirt. Oh,
Yeah,
one
that
day.
was cool.
Superman Legacy has the S of the back of the cape. I don't care if the movie's crap. It'll be the best Superman look at anything ever. Like
The thing is,
Jesus.
you need to do it so that if you ever down the line do a proper death of Superman and his cape is hanging off a bit of raggedy old pipe,
Yes.
his S is on the cape.
Mm.
You have
Yeah.
to do it.
100%.
Otherwise, you get the animated movie where it's just a red thing and the thing. What? Thor died?
Yeah.
Someone lost their dressing gown. What the
Yeah.
Or even in like the latest one where it's like the black S from the New 52. Like, yeah, I agree. Need that S.
China Guy made another good suggestion here, which was amongst the other things we got at the end. Just like how we got the cancelled Nicolas Cage Superman in there, we could have got the Justice League Mortal.
Oh,
We could have got
crikey,
that
yeah.
cast. You could have got a moment from that in there.
Mm.
That would have been kind of cool to get that in there as well. That's another version of the Flash, which along those lines we got to see like Batman that looked visibly different. You know, so we showed that different timelines have different looking Batmans. We have enough different versions of Flash now that we could have. It would have been nice to have seen different Barry Allens.
Especially in a Flash movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's what
in
I
the
mean.
Flash
It
movie,
fits the
yeah.
most, man. 100%.
And Mark C or Mark Se says, I heard that they edited, so it's a reliable source. I heard they edited out Henry Cavill and filmed that post-credit scene with Aquaman only a few months ago, which was strange.
So,
Well,
So,
they did do
I
reshoots
think-
with him, didn't they? Yeah.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
because I think the ending was meant to be. So again, I think I was New Rock Stars or maybe Heroes Reforged or something. We're talking about it, but I think the ending, as I said, like Michael Keaton was meant to be at the end on the courthouse because that was then going to lead on to the Batgirl movie because that's how Keaton comes back. Obviously, because they cancelled Batgirl, they then had to
That
change the
makes
point.
sense. Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I'm curious about having Henry Cavill at the end of the. Well, again, I think probably because they obviously had him at the end of Black Adam and everyone got really excited, and then he announced he was coming back, and then a month later was like, oh wait, no, sorry, James Gunn's come along and said I can't do it anymore. So if he was at the end of this movie, everyone would be like, oh, he's back. Oh no, he's not. He's not back again.
I'm still got my fingers crossed that he is coming back, and it's just a completely long con that they're saying no, he's
con.
not Superman, and they'll have somebody else in the trailers, and they'll do all this crazy shit, and then when you go and see the film Superman Legacy, the whole thing is Henry Cavill, and everybody will be shocked.
I mean, if he did that, I would be very.
Well, that would be
impressed.
fantastic.
How
I'd be
good would
very
that be,
impressed.
man? You'd be absolutely amazing.
I
I would
miss
say
it.
at the end when we got the post-credit scene with Aquaman, I was disappointed. It was a fun scene, but I was disappointed to see that it was Jason Momoa as Aquaman there. Not to say I don't like him as Aquaman, but just because I really wanted it to be that after he got back from Flashpoint, literally no one is the same.
Mm.
I didn't want there to be any of the same things because that's a better setup for this rebooted universe.
He should have come on a
um,
big flying space bike and been Lobo.
Oh,
That'd have been
that's
fucking
cool.
amazing.
That would be cool. That would be
My
cool.
my
Okay.
initial thoughts were I think that's where they were planning to go, like you said, with Sasha Calle and Keaton coming in, and I think originally the plan was to have I forget the actress' name, the Batgirl from the cancelled Batgirl movie. They were going to be taking on the role going forward, and like you say, the original plan was to have them Flashpoint change so they would come in as the new actors. But then
Yes.
with WB being bought out by Discovery and James Gunn taking over and everything changing and all the people who were in charge being shit canned, then it's all up in the air at the moment. Like you say, they've had to film something, so they've just shoved that on the end.
The ending with when George Clooney comes out again. I don't know if it was a CGI Ezra Miller, but he looked different because maybe it was a reshoot. Of like he just looked different. I was like, why does this look so weird? Again, because it was a reshoot and they had to change the ending. Maybe it was quite a bit weird. I mean, I kind of feel like superhero movies have lost the point of post-credit scenes now, because it used to be a lead on to the next film, or like a surprise cameo or something. Like Marvel started off with like, oh, the Avengers Initiative and blah blah blah, like a lead on to the next film. Now they're just like, they know people are going to stay tuned in, so they just put like bullshit joke shit at the end now, and it's like, why did I bother waiting? Like, it's just.
Well, it's,
I think like it's fun to just have the little jokey extra bits there, but I'd say post-credit scenes did exist before Marvel. Like other movies were doing it. The best example I can think of that is you go back to that Street Fighter movie, where after like post-credits or mid-credit scene, M. Bison's hand breaks through the rubble, so you realize, oh, he's not dead, because it was meant to be, oh, something survived. That would have been set up for another movie, but the actor died, so that's why you didn't get a follow-on movie. But
it wasn't very good.
There's been a bunch of other movies that have done it, and yeah, the post-credit scene always used to just be, it would either be a soft kind of setup for another movie, or just to show that all you saw is a window in a world for a period of time, but this world exists before and after the story that you've seen. So that's why you get that little bit there. It doesn't have to always be setting up another movie, just to show that this is part of a bigger story. But having fun little bits for an extra laugh at the end, I have no problem with that, personally.
I think Diner Guy copies
I think
my
too much
thoughts there.
stock
So,
gets put into them at this
well,
point.
I don't know. Something like The Flash, Diner Guy echoes my thoughts. Is like, is that it? Is that what we got? We get to the end.
Random ending
Yep.
for no reason.
Well, the problem is it's difficult for them to go, right, here we go into the next one when
True.
it's the end of the universe.
Release who's been called Superman.
Yeah.
I think they had to throw in that bit at the end with Jason Momoa because of the simple scheduling reasons that
for Aquaman 2.
the next Aquaman movie isn't out yet. So we have to show that despite the fact that Barry broke the entire universe,
Damn it, Barry.
Aquaman is still the same. So you can watch his movie after this and it still makes sense. But yeah, I wish that they just got the Aquaman movie out first and then Flash to be definitively the last one.
Yeah, it's weird.
So,
right?
We've talked about this. So what are you guys' thoughts on the box office take-ins for this movie? So on how well this movie's performed. We know how people have responded in reviews on it, but let's look at and that's all people's opinions. Usually the most miserable people are the most vocal people, like in general with things. But we can see from its performance that it didn't do as well as what it was projected. It performed something like $55 million on the opening weekend, and it was hoping to get 100 million. It had a budget of 200 million, which means it outperformed Shazam 2 by like $2 million. I think they got 53 million on opening weekend, which is a big numbers, but it's not as much as what I was expecting. So Shazam 2 really severely underperformed. The Flash really underperformed at the box office. What do you guys think on this? Do you think that this is still a holdover of the effect of the pandemic, where you've had a lot of people have got a lot used to waiting for things to see them online now?
No.
Is it that there wasn't the interest in the movie in general? Or is it because of the fact that Gunn is rebooting the universe and everyone knows that these movies have no consequence, they have no impact on future movies or anything?
I think it's two reasons for me. One is, like you said, it's because it's the end of a universe, so it's like, well, I'll just wait to the new one, then I'll watch it, because a lot of people didn't like what came before it anyway, so like, I don't really care how it ends. I'll wait till something new comes out. And the other thing is, I think it's just because of Ezra Miller.
I think
in protest aren't going to pay tickets to see it. Like there was some post on Facebook I was reading the other day, and the guy was like, as soon as it comes out, so I can get it for free, I'll watch it, but I'm not giving any money to Ezra Miller or something. And I was like, okay.
Ezra Miller doesn't get any of that money.
I know, but that's what
he's been paid. He doesn't care whether or not you watch his movie.
I think there is definitely a little bit of that, because we saw Across the Spider-Verse the week before this, so 2 weeks ago now, and that was a packed theatre. There was no worries about it. Yeah. You know, it's
Yeah.
completely sold out the week we went to go and see that.
There's a reason why they're rebooting it, right?
Mm.
Because most people don't like the Snyderverse, and it didn't perform well.
There's also a lot of
I
people
would
I
say-
speak to in my work environment and friends who don't like comic books all that much or aren't that interested in it at all, and they're getting completely fatigued with it. They don't know whether Flash is part of the Marvelverse or DC verse, and they don't want to see another movie. They're done. They liked Endgame, and that was it for them. So
Yeah, a lot of people I know that aren't big comic book fans are sort of like, yeah, well, Endgame was good. I haven't watched anything since, and maybe there is starting to be a bit of fatigue with superhero films because so when we were young, bless it was a long time ago, we used to get one superhero film like every 3 years. Now we're getting like 5
it was
a year.
not very often.
No, it was, and it's just, I mean, I'm one of the few that really likes Snyderverse. I enjoy most of the movies. I really love the design. I love most of the actors, but like, I think
That's the
the only
problem.
misparts.
Out of all of them, Ezra Miller is the worst cast.
Yeah. I think everyone else is perfect. The suit design's great. I even like most of the stories from most of the films, bar a couple. But there is just this hate for it that, like, as you said, Liam, everyone that doesn't like something speaks the loudest. And I am still.
And
one of
Warner
those
Brothers heard it, right?
Yeah, I'm still one of those people that wish Warner Brothers didn't listen to the audiences and kept Snyder, and we got to see the Snyder Cut,
3 Justice League movies.
3 Justice League movies.
Yeah.
Like all this
I
extra
think
stuff
that's
that's coming, and it's really a shame that Warner Brothers gave into peer pressure after BVS and were like, oh shit, no one likes it. We need to be as good as Marvel. Let's try something new. And now they're again, oh crap, we're not making any money. We're just going to reboot the. And I think James Gunn, although I've got faith in him after that podcast he did with Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum.
Yep.
I feel like if Superman Legacy is not a hit, they are in deep trouble.
Yeah, that's what. If that first film out the stable is a flop, then that's done. That whole universe from the get-go. It's just.
Yeah, I feel
it needs to be Iron Man. It needs to be that level.
Yeah, it needs to be. It needs to be.
Yeah, I'd say that there is, when you look at the movies of this line of DC movies, these Snyderverse movies, there are a bunch of really good movies that are in there. Man of Steel, fantastic. BVS, the original version when it was released, theatrical version, not that great. The Ultimate Cut,
better.
Great.
Yep.
That it absolutely made it better, and I'm glad that we got that director's cut released. Wonder Woman,
But
fantastic.
the damage was already
Aquaman,
done.
huge success.
Yeah, damage was already done after BVS.
And
I think we
Justice
should
League.
do a list of our movies in order, like rank them, and like discuss like where we are. With,
I
like,
think that's going to end up being a whole nother podcast.
Oh,
yeah,
into it deep.
Not
Yeah.
If people
But
are
what I was
curious,
going to say
I'm
is
curious
that
to
with
do
regards to the general hatred that seems to be around the Snyderverse that a lot of people have, and seems to be that narrative amongst people that like to complain, I think comes from Justice League. But when the Justice League movie was released, the movie was successful. People liked it. We enjoyed the movie, right? Despite the dodgy CGI mouth around Superman, it was an enjoyable movie. And then you got all the campaigning of Restore the Snyder Cut and all that. And then you finally got that. And that just kind of took on a life of its own. And yes, the Snyder Cut is better. I agree. It's not completely what he wanted to do because he wanted to shoot a lot more stuff. So I'm glad that we did get that, at least. But I think that whole moment that we had there has then cast a shadow over this entire DC EU universe of movies, which is unfortunate because there are a lot of great movies in here that now just get this shadow cast over it. And then you add on the fact that we know the universe is ending, so that casts another shadow onto things. And I think that's the only reason why Shazam 2 didn't perform too well. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was all it needed to be. It was a fun movie. Shazam and Shazam 2 were never meant to be more than fun superhero movies. And they were lighter in tone than what the other ones were. So by all accounts, it's what people have been asking for. So it's a shame that it
came out the Flash,
well.
actually, as I said, as I hope the tone from this Flash movie is what we see in the future. I much preferred that tone.
Yeah.
Well, I believe the director from this has now been is secured for Batman. Very
Okay.
Is it secured? Yeah. Is it? I heard it was rumored. I wasn't sure if it was.
Maybe it's a rumor. Maybe I just heard someone saying it's secured.
I've read he's got it, so I think he is. So And I'm very
He nailed
curious.
both Batmans. He had 2 Batmans, and he nailed both of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how they do that, because obviously you're gonna have Damien. Are we gonna have a Nightwing? Are we gonna have a Tim Drake? Are we gonna have a Jason Todd? We're gonna have a Bat family in that film, or is it just gonna be Damien and Bruce? Or is it even gonna be Bruce? Maybe it'll be Dick Grayson as Batman, which I would love to see. Like, have that whole story with Bruce not being around. I mean, that would be a brave thing to do for the first
You know
one.
what? I don't think they'll do that. I think what they're going to be doing here is finally giving everyone the versions of every superhero that we've been wanting. Like a Superman that's fully formed and realized, not the Henry Cavill one, which was he was on a journey to become Superman that we know from the comics. Not putting down, I love Henry Cavill's Superman. But it was darker. And he wasn't the happy, positive, symbol of hope that he is in the comics. So I think that Superman Legacy is going to start straight off. He's fully established. I think Batman, we're going to get Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Bat Family. I think that whatever we get with Wonder Woman and Supergirl and everything, they're going to be the fully formed, closer to the comic versions, is what I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Cool. No, I see that happening. But trouble is, everyone's got a different opinion of what their favorite version. I mean, maybe Superman. Most people want the same thing, but someone like Batman.
Yeah, we want mullet Superman, the version that beat Doomsday. We all want this version, right?
Everyone has their own opinion of what they want their Batman to be. So you're gonna have. I don't know. You would never be able to be like, oh, we're gonna do everyone's favorite, because everyone has a different opinion on it. So I'm quite curious to see what's gonna happen with that.
As long as it's not Christian Bale, I'm good. I'm very traded.
So it's going to be George Clooney.
Rumor that I saw today. I saw a rumor today that Jensen Ackles is on the list as a potential.
Please, come on. He deserves his shot. Let's get it.
And the thing is, if they want to tie it into the animated, he's already doing the animated voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, he would be perfect.
No. Halloween?
He did Long Halloween, and
yeah.
he's done. Is there another one where he's in it? Can't remember. What's the latest one?
No.
Sorry, he's in the War World one. That's what I meant. Yeah, the one that's coming out. Yeah. And he was in a second.
Cool.
So I think he would be good. So hearing that made me glad that he didn't get that cameo in Gotham Knights, where he was gonna cameo as dead Batman. Batman's body lying in the street
as a dead Batman.
As dead Batman.
Yeah.
Which
always. Always. Right,
well, I thought when they said that, it was kind of like, oh, this would have been cool. His chance to actually be Batman on screen, even though he's dead. That would have been kind of funny. But I much prefer the idea of him getting to be a proper, the proper movie version of Batman. That would be fantastic.
Nice. Want to go to check for a few more comments?
Yep, and then we'll wrap things up, I think. They need money, bro. Snyder was not profitable.
Yeah.
That's Diner Guy. Mark C wants to know if we saw the trailer for Marvels. We're not talking about that at the moment. We're talking about Flash. So...
we have. It's on the YouTube channel. Go check it out.
Good shout.
Yeah, there you go. Look elsewhere on our channel. You'll see there's a reaction to it. I really enjoyed James Gunn's Suicide Squad, says Mark C.
I thought it was awful.
I think they killed off Captain Boomerang, so I was automatically hating it straight away. He's my favourite character, and they killed him off the beginning. And
Stuart likes the cosplay as Captain Boomerang.
I've cosplayed as Captain Boomerang a few times, and they just ruined it for me. I was like, great, well, I might as well just be a dead
Now you're playing a dead Captain Boomerang.
I'm being a dead guy.
Your next cosplay at Comic Con is going to be Chillblaine. You're going to have that.
Oh, someone actually said in the comments, what did you think about Chillblaine's brief appearance in the movie?
What?
I think they were joking.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Same Cecile as well.
Yeah.
The Cecile comment as well.
Yeah.
No Cecile.
I was going to say, I didn't
Ross was
notice.
so disappointed that C didn't pop up. First C bomb dropped on our channel.
That's what the extra 2 hours is to make it a 4-hour movie. It's a panning shot of Chuck and fucking Allegra kissing in the fucking stern.
Oh, that stupid shot.
Here, there's a question here from Hunter Iggy that says, if they were to do a sequel, which we know they're not, so if they were to do a sequel to this movie, what would you want to see?
Different Barry Allen.
Well, along those lines, it would be good to see if we're looking at the multiverse for him to see other versions of Barry Allen.
Yeah, I mean,
being out there.
I'd love to. You could see the time travel thing and have Bart as Impulse come from the future. Would be
Or
quite cool.
you could have the universe itself decide that the Flash is fucking around with it has caused too much problems. So here's the opposite of you, the reverse.
I mean, the reverse Flash would be like the ultimate thing to do, right? Because they did it really well. You say what you want about the Flash TV show, but Reverse Flash in season 1 was so good, and I feel like you could, because they never actually explained who kills his mum in the film. And I feel like you meant to sort of imply it maybe it was the Reverse Flash, but if they went down that rabbit hole, it would have taken the movie would have taken a mind of its own, and it would have been crazy.
Yeah,
you could
maybe that's what a sequel would be. I thought it was good that they didn't go too much into the death because we all know it's Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
But you didn't see any lightning, you didn't see anything like that. We heard some kind of commotion, and then Barry coming down the stairs. Barry seeing his dad get home, go in, and then Barry coming down the stairs, seeing his dad holding onto the knife in his wife's chest.
Well, if you pulled it out, she'd probably bleed out, right? So it's probably keeping it there so she doesn't bleed out.
Well, yeah, he was like holding it there, and then he took his hand off, which I thought was a bit kind of like, oh, you silly.
You put your fingerprints all over that knife, which was yours anyway.
Yeah, your fingerprints are all over this now.
You'll be all over it anyway, right? It's their knife.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not just the wife that does the cooking.
So what he should have been
Not in the
doing...
90s.
The knife.
But no, I mean, it would have to be like Reverse Flash, right? Would be the ultimate villain too. That's his Joker. So like, that would be really cool to see. Or the Rogues. I'd love to see like a proper Rogues, because we never really got that in the Flash TV show. But like the Rogues together, having like Captain Cold, Captain Boomerang, the Trickster, Mirror Master, like maybe the Top, like having that they form because they're all like maybe separate criminals, and the Flash keeps catching them. So they decided to form like a little crew, the Rogues, to try and stop him. That would be quite cool to see. I would love to watch that.
Yeah.
You find out the Reverse Flash is the one that's put them all together without them knowing. He made them meet and stuff. That would be quite cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Madness Vamps says we need Eric Wallace as the villain in the sequel.
Eric Wallace. Why is that? Why should it's not Joe? Is it?
You've managed to stump all of us here.
No, he's the writer for the Flash from like season 5 onwards, isn't he?
Yeah. He's
okay.
He's shipping Allegra and
I was trying to think: is there a character in the comics that is Eric Wallace?
No.
Who is this? So yeah. Well done, Madness, for completely stumping us on that one.
But he's already a villain in the TV show, so we don't need him in the films as well.
He's killed himself off. He's like young Barry Allen at the end of the movie.
I do think maybe we need to do, if people are interested, maybe we should do a live or a podcast on the Flash TV show and like the finale and stuff, because I've still got so much to say about that and how it wasn't good.
I want to forget about it, to be honest with you.
I'm trying to put out that name.
So a podcast for another time. We've been waffling for an hour and 20 now. So.
We'll do that. Let us know in the comments if you guys want that, as that show's now passed and it's done. Would you like us to do an episode talking about our thoughts on the last season of the Flash TV show, and maybe kind of a retrospective of the whole show as a whole, but kind of a focus on how it ended? Is that something that you guys would like? If you do, let us know in the comments.
Also,
we do check the comments.
Ranking the Snyderverse movies. Would you like to see what each of our ranking of the current list, not including Blue Beetle or Aquaman 2, obviously, what that looks like? And maybe we can discuss it together, because I reckon some of ours are quite different.
You mentioned Blue Beetle just then. Do you think Blue Beetle is part of Snyderverse or part of the new?
He's part of the new one. He's the first character, but the movie doesn't count.
Yeah,
it'd be reset after that.
James Gunn said Blue Beetle is part of the DCU in that podcast with Michael Rosenberg.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the first of the new movies.
No.
But it's not.
The character will carry on, the actor, but the movie won't be included. So you'll see his origin and how he become Blue Beetle in this movie, but it won't be fully counted in the thing.
And so we're going to get another fucking origin movie afterwards?
No, I think he'll just be Blue Beetle. He'll just be. You won't have to see another origin. and maybe some of the characters in
It's
it
just
don't
not going to
exist.
acknowledge anything from that movie.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might see a few characters change, a few actors change, but it's just
Yeah.
going to be that it's like doing a Spider-Man movie now. You know the origin story now. You've happily beat the origin
Yeah.
story. Let's get
Yeah.
the character out the gate and do something different.
He somehow gets the beetle, it goes on him, bang, he becomes Blue Beetle. Job
Mm.
done. Let's move on.
Move on.
Yeah. He becomes friends with Booster Gold.
Exactly.
Wrong Blue Beetle, but never mind.
Yeah. All right. I think it's about time to wrap this up. Last glance at these comments here. Dyna Guy says the movie doesn't count because Gunn didn't produce it. It was made before him. Abbas Kazmi says, sup.
And,
Sup?
is that a Blue Beetle
Sup?
avatar as well? I know.
It
Looks
is,
like Blue Beetle.
Wallace said he wanted to do a Blackest Night crossover in season 10 with dead characters from Titans and other shows.
Well, he could have used
Yeah, but
all of them
Well,
to
that's
easily
something
kill the
for us to come back
franchise.
to when
Yeah,
if we're
that's-
doing an episode on Flash, we'll talk about that then.
It's still going to have Allegra and Chuck just kissing the whole time. I don't give a shit. Like, kill them off. Fuck him.
All right. So if we didn't get to reading your comments, sorry. We're trying to get through everyone.
Reply afterwards.
We'll try and reply after the fact in the chats. But thanks everyone for tuning into this live broadcast, live recording from Legends of Podcasting. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so now. Just click that subscribe button down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button, that subscribe button. Because, this is available wherever you find podcasts, you'll find Legends of Podcasting. So hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your family, get everyone to subscribe on everywhere to Legends.
Across all
And we're
multiverses.
Yeah.
All the multiverses. I mean, in one multiverse, we're like the biggest YouTube channel ever. It'd be great.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Liam, now pop off back into the Phantom Zone till Wednesday when
Yeah.
Superman and Lois is on.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You'll be loud out for World War II. You'll be loud out.
Someone
Now
turn
go
on the projector. Let's go.
Cool.
All right. So that's it. All right. Bye from me.
Bye bye. See you later.
Bye.
See you all in the next podcast.